Hi everyone. So I made this video for those of you who are having trouble making a flowchart. So I asked you to please post your flowchart in your lab book by this coming Thursday before you get the biolog results. So I'm just going to walk you through how to make a flowchart. The first thing you're going to do is go to Blackboard under the Unknown tab, and you're going to see this right here, Flowcharts, List of Possible Microbes. And I'd like you to open up the Berge's Group and Flowcharts document, your list of possible microbes. This is what was handed out in class physically. If you lost it, here's a copy right here. And then you're going to open up a Google Slides, a blank Google Slides, and just have some kind of a search engine tab up in case we need to look up information on a microbe that isn't readily accessible. Okay, so whoops. So these are the things that I want you to open real quick. Alright, so the reason why we're using Google is because it's really easy to use, and you can make any kind of a flowchart that you want without needing a template. So you can choose any shape. You can go round, you can go square. I like to use these ones here, and then you can type whatever you want in it. And you can connect your boxes of your flowchart with arrows. You can make them thicker. You can change any of the colors like you would in a normal document. Okay, so moving on. I have already completed a flowchart, so I'm just going to walk you through each thought that I did here. So the first thing I did was I started with gram staining. Gram staining gives you a lot of information. At the same time, you will know the shape of your bacteria, and you also know whether or not it's gram positive or gram negative. So I found that mine was gram positive and it was a cocci. So I referred to the Berge manual document that's on Blackboard, and I started looking at the groups. So since I have a gram negative round bacteria, so cocci, that means that it can't be group 4 because it's gram negative. It also can't be group 5, gram negative. However, it can be group 17, so it's gram positive. And it looks like it can be group 18 as well, because that has rods and cocci that are gram positive. And then group 19 is out, and so is group 20, and 21 is also out. So that means I just have bacteria that are in the families listed here. So group 17 and group 18. So from there, I looked at the next big test result that will give you a lot of information, and that's motility deep. So motility deep is great because you can find out if your microbe is motile and whether or not it needs oxygen to survive at once. So for example, if you had a microbe where there was only growth in the stab line and nowhere else, then that would indicate that your microbe is maybe facultatively anaerobic, so it can survive in low oxygen and higher oxygen concentrations, and it also likely cannot move. Whereas if you had growth all on the top of your media and nothing in the stab line, that probably means that your microbe is an obligate aerobe, and it's also motile because it shows that it was able to move away from a low oxygen area and likely depleted the nutrients within the stab line, and they moved towards the oxygen on top. So I went through the list of everything listed here. So referring to my Berge again, I can see that in group 17, looks like there are oxygen requirements, which means, hey, that needs oxygen, and there's nothing listed about motility. Whereas group 18, it has oxygen requirements and it's also motile. So my results again were that mine were not motile and they were strict aerobes. So that means I'm just working with group 17, so I listed out those families there. And just to summarize, it means I have only group 17. So from there, I randomly chose the next experiments. You can choose whichever ones you find were most helpful to you. So the most helpful one that I thought from there was catalase, and I found that mine was catalase positive. And unfortunately, this stuff isn't listed here anymore on your Berge manual printout. However, you might be able to get some of that information from the flowcharts, either this flowchart and also an extra flowchart here might give you some of the information. And then we also just have the option to Google. So I Googled the families all listed in group 17, and I found that only Micrococcus and Staphylococcus were catalase positive. Moving on from there, I did the oxidase test, and I found that mine was oxidase positive. And once again, I looked up whether or not Micrococcus and Staphylococcus were more frequently oxidase positive or oxidase negative, because there are some minor exceptions that are specific to individual species. And I found that Micrococcus was overwhelmingly positive and Staphylococcus was usually oxidase negative. So that means, referring to my list of unknown bacteria, that I have 4 options of what my individual species could be within the genus Micrococcus. So this is when I went to the individual sheet on the Berge manual, just looking at the Micrococcus genus, and I found that the only Micrococcus listed as a possibility nor unknown that was listed in the Berge manual was Micrococcus luteus. That was the only one that did not produce acid during glucose fermentation, so I was able to rule out all the other ones. So I know that you guys don't have the Berge manual at home. Good news is you can find most things on the internet, so you can search for the Berge manual individual sheets just using Google Image. If you are not having good luck finding what you need just on the internet, then please contact me and I will happily scan any pages of the Berge manual you need and send them to you. We're all working from home, so I'm not going anywhere. I'll be able to respond to emails very fast. Okay, so once you have your flowchart made, I'm going to blow up my flowchart to the highest size that I can go, which is 200%, and then I'm going to download it as a JPEG. So the reason why I did that is because if I saved it at 50% or even 100%, then it's probably going to get really pixely and just not look very good, look really blurry. So I download it as a JPEG so that way I can insert it directly in my lab manual. So all of you have an individual tailor-made lab manual that looks exactly like this. And the first thing that I asked you to do was to insert a flowchart before you proceed with any other results, before I'll release the results to you, pretty much, because I want to see that you got it down to at least a couple family choices, even better if you got it down to a genus. So I inserted it by just doing insert image, upload from computer, wherever you saved it, and since it's a JPEG, I can stretch it out or shrink it pretty easily. Okay, so that's it for how to make a flowchart. Please let me know if you have any problems.